Hey everybody, it's Tuesday again, so it's time for Tuesdays in the, well, no, we've changed the name. It's not Tuesdays in the shop anymore. It's Live with Gotham Quilts. It hasn't been Tuesdays in the shop for like 2 years and I still keep saying the wrong name.
Old
Hi
habits, I
Allison,
suppose.
how are you
Hi,
today?
Yvette. Oh, living the dream on a Tuesday. I tell you what, this is soon becoming my favorite day of the week.
Good. um,
Better than Fridays.
Better than Friday?
I would
I,
say so.
so did you get a crazy rainstorm yesterday? We had like flooding here in New York.
Oh my gosh, no, it was, I'm in Pittsburgh today, and it was just a teeny tiniest of a little sprinkle in the morning, and then nothing.
No, it was
But it
like,
is very sticky.
yeah, very humid. We had like a monsoon situation. There were
Wow.
videos of people in the subway with like water coming out of the ground and coming into the subway cars. There was cars like flooded in highways. Andrea told me that in the suburb where she lives, they got 4 inches in 5 hours. So there's like,
Oh my God.
depending on where you live, there was drama yesterday, and I was like hiding in my apartment, and like nothing happened to me. So
You were safe and sound.
hopefully everybody else had an okay time and didn't have any damage or anything. Um,
I hope so.
it was a lot. Um, so today we are going to tell you about this next year's Quiltcon challenge. So those of you who've been following us for a while know that Gotham, we almost always offered a bundle for the Quiltcon challenge. Backing up, Quiltcon is the big modern quilt show that happens every year in February. It moves around the country, but next year it's going to be in North Carolina again, in Raleigh, which is where it was 2 years ago when we vended that one time. The one time that we vended, um, and actually, I'm
Did you
hoping
have a fabulous time at QuiltCon?
it was so much freaking work, but it was really great. Also, it was like I think I was like exhausted for a week after we got back. It was so much work, but the best part was we got to see all these people we've never met before, right? Because it is such a meeting ground for modern culture. So like people come from all over the country or even internationally to go to this show, and they knew we were going to be there, so they were like walking into the booth every day like, hi, I'm Maria from Tucson, I'm whatever from wherever, and we were like, it's great to meet you in real life for the first time ever. You've been shopping with us for 10 years, right? So that part was awesome, but oh my god, was it a lot of work. It was like this because we'd done smaller shows like local shows before, but this was the first like real big show that we ever did, and the first time we had to drive inventory to, yeah, anyway, not what we're supposed to be talking about. um Quiltcon in general is probably my favorite quilt show. It used to be MQX, which was the machine quilting show, but they discontinued that show, so that's gone now. So I guess Quiltcon's my favorite show now. And they just announced the challenge for next year. So they almost always have a fabric manufacturer that sponsors a challenge. And by sponsoring, they really mean like they choose fabrics and then set up the challenge, right? So this year it's going to be Windham again, and they have picked Artisan cottons again, which is that woven fabric that you watching may be familiar with because we sold it for years and years because we love the color, we love the feeling of it. It washes so soft, and it's lovely to work with. Um, the It is a woven. The term is woven, which I've always thought was a really stupid term because all of the quilting cottons are wovens. But the reason these are called wovens is because there's no printed design on them. The design of it is created by the weft and the warp threads being different colors. And Andrew, not Andrea, you're not Andrea, you're Allison. Allison has some fabrics with her, and she's going to hold them up to show you. But basically, the when we were talking about what we should talk about in this call, Allison was like, well, we have those bundles available now for next year's Quiltcon. And I was like, oh, that we should definitely show people. I hadn't seen the colors before. It's a really unique color palette.
Grouping, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah.
Palette.
So why don't we show them what we're talking about? You
Let's
want me to
do
share the tab?
yes,
Yeah. Okay.
please
So
do.
I'm gonna pull up the Modern Quilt Guild's website where they're explaining this and show you all. So this is for 2026. I can't believe next year is 2026.
Already we're talking about 2026.
And it's already mid-July. Like, how did that even happen? So it's February 19th through the 22nd. It's usually mid-February every year. And this year the colors were picked by Hillary Goodwin. Hillary Goodwin, I don't recognize her as by that name, but if you are on Instagram, I'm going to show you her Instagram. She's Entropy Always Wins on Instagram. And she's pretty well known as a modern quilter who's doing a mix of like garment stuff and quilting stuff. This is what her like aesthetic looks like. I always think of her as the person who does these selfies with this camera style. Like, most people don't show themselves this way, but every time she makes clothes, that's how she takes a picture where she's hiding her face with her camera. And so they picked her as I guess she's the keynote speaker for next year. Oh, they call it featured speaker. And she got to pick the palette. So they picked 6 colors from Artisan cottons. And this picture here, I feel like maybe doesn't have the best representation of the colors. So let's look at the ones where it's like pieces of fabric together. I think this does a better job of showing all the colors. They're so rich and interesting this year. Which one do you think is your favorite, Allison?
Oh, if I had to pick one, it's going to be this first one that I'm going to hold up. So I'll wait till I have a bigger one, but it's that top one, the taupe and the light.
Oh, the taupey one? Yeah.
Yeah. If there's anyone from the Tiny Apple world watching, they know that of all the colors, my favorite color is gray. I love all different shades of gray, which is kind of sad and depressing.
That's like not a color.
Yes. So the gray is probably my favorite. I think it's the one that you look at and think, oh, if I needed a background for this particular challenge, that's the color I'd pick.
Yeah.
But you could go kind of fun and cool and use the brown, go a little bit darker, or even that gold color, which is, I would say gold is the color of the season. We see it so much across the board, just this really nice, rich gold. So we can get into the specific colors, but what's your favorite color?
I think out of this group, it's probably that gold color, which is like a kind of a weird color, but we had this in the store and I really liked this color. We actually had picked it as the background for one of our Block of the Months years ago. And it was one of those things where we were auditioning different background colors and we were sure we were going to pick X. And then we picked this wild option instead. Once we tried it, it was like, this is way better. And we would never have guessed unless you actually tried it.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are not familiar with these contests, the rules are that you can only use any of these 6 fabrics, but technically you don't have to use all of them. Theoretically, you could pick 2 of them and just use 2, or I guess you could just use 1. I'm not sure about that.
In order to be eligible, you have to use at least 3 of them.
At least 3. Okay. So thank you for actually remembering the specific rules, because I didn't remember that detail. I just remembered you didn't have to use all of them.
You do not.
And you don't have to use them evenly, right? So you could pick one background, then have a lot of it, and then just a little bit of the other accent color. So maybe you really don't like that gold color. You don't have to use it at all.
Nope. But you do have to use only these fabrics. You use at least 3. You can use all the way up to 6. But if it's going to be anything on the face of the quilt, it has to be these fabrics.
Right.
So if you're using a binding, even for example.
Oh yeah,
the background could be whatever you choose.
Yeah. It says if the binding is visible from the front of the quilt, it must be one of these palette fabrics. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Or
you could do a facing and not show it.
No single size larger than 90 inches in case you were going to make like a king size quilt. But there's no minimum.
I guess I would wonder, what's the largest quilt they get for some kind of a contest like this? I can't imagine it's
apparently
90 by 90
inches. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be so difficult to hang something that is gigantic, right? So that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah, and some of the quilts people have made in the previous years have been so beautiful, and it's so interesting to see how people use color palettes that they didn't pick themselves, right? Like that's part of the challenge, is being handed a palette and seeing what you come up with.
It is a fun palette. I can go ahead and show them in color. So you are getting, I would say, if I'm looking at the fabric in person, and the fabric pictures that you just saw will definitely point out where any of the differences might be from a photo to real life. But one of the things I'll point out with this artisan cotton is because it's woven, and I've got some color balancing things here to hopefully get you the most accurate color here. And this one is a really warm taupey gray. And what I love about this fabric is, and that was kind of talking about how it's considered woven. I mean, all fabric is woven, but this is, you've got the warp and the weft is different thread colors.
Right.
And so it's a very creative name for this fabric. I think this one is taupe light gray or something.
Yeah, that's one of the things we never liked that about. They didn't give them real colors. They named them based on the warp and the weft thread color, right? Yes. So this one, which is a taupey color on my particular screen, and everybody watching, each of your screens is calibrated differently. So you never know if what you're looking at is really the color that it is in real life. That's why Allison's holding up that white sheet of paper to try to get the screen to adjust and the camera to adjust well. So on my screen, this looks a little more gray than taupe, but in real life, this fabric is actually more taupe than gray. Yes. And the two threads, so like, if you don't know, when you weave thread, you have a warp and a weft, meaning like the thread that goes this way and the thread that goes this way. And on this one, the two colors, one is light gray and the other color is taupe. So that's why this color name is taupe / light gray, is because those are the warp and the weft of the two. Yeah, this is such a pretty color.
It is. It's, I would say, definitely more than the picture. It's a little more peachy. Than the image would suggest. The color that I'm seeing on the screen, especially with this white balance here, looks, I would say, pretty close to what it is in real life. It's a little more vibrant in real life, obviously. But what I, the names are kind of boring, but they're very functional and they tell you exactly what it is. So this one I think is called like white dark coral, if I'm not mistaken.
Dark coral, light coral, which is even more confusing. Can you show the selvage a little bit closer?
Yep. So here,
it's white, right?
It is.
Yeah, so that's the light coral, right? And then the other side, one side is this almost white corally color, and then the other side is a dark coral. So then when they mix together, you get this like medium coral color.
So I pulled it out and I lost it, but here's the super light coral, and then you can see what's left.
Oh yeah, that's a great
dark
way to
coral
it.
threads.
Yep. That's a really great way to explain it. Yeah. And it feels really good, doesn't it? Like when you touch it and you shake it, has good drape. Yeah.
Yeah. If you've worked with other shot cottons or like a Moda cross weave, I would say that this artisan cotton is a little bit heavier than that. Even if than the cross weave or like the what am I thinking of? The K facet shot
it's definitely
cottons.
heavier than shot cotton. Yeah, those are so fuzzy in comparison. Yeah.
Yes. So you get some, some oomph with your fabric. And I kind of like a little more oomph sometimes, depending on what you're making, for sure.
Yeah, and so like for this contest, you're not going to mix this with quilting cotton, but if you were going to mix it with quilting cotton, it works beautifully. Like they're very evenly weighted to each other. Yeah, that color is so cool. It's like, it's a very weird color, but I think that's such a usable color.
Yes. And if I'm looking at this, it is, I would say, and Yvette, you've worked with this before. To me, it's showing up a little bit darker in person than it is on the camera. How is it looking for you?
Yeah, maybe. And it's kind of like a gold that isn't, it's not like that antique gold. It's more like almost like a brushed gold, maybe. Like the kind of color. And you can see that the selvage is kind of a brown color. And that's because this is made up of yellow and copper threads. So the selvage is the copper threads, and then the weft? Whatever. The one direction is copper.
I could never remember it.
If Andrea was here, she'd be like, I can't believe you don't know which one of those is which.
I know. Let's see if this can pick that up so that you can see that dark copper, and then right there, we've got that yellow. So when the yellow is by itself, look at how much lighter that is. And then you add the copper and it becomes this very textured color here.
Right. So it has almost like a sheen to it because of the way the two threads interact with each other. And if you like hold it up at an angle, it kind of looks like a different color. So it has a lot of personality, almost like interest to it. It's not flat.
Definitely not flat. This one I think might take the most explaining in
Yeah.
that the colors here are a green and a blue.
Right.
And so when you're looking at this, it might look a little turquoise or a little, probably turquoise is the way to describe it.
Yeah.
It's a lot more Kelly green than it is on the camera.
Yeah. And I've definitely found that cameras in particular have a hard time accurately representing some shades of green. And maybe that's why they use green for like when they do the
The
fake,
green screen.
right? Like the green screen. Maybe that's why they use green, because green is like a specific color for cameras. But yeah, on my camera, I mean on my screen, this looks extremely turquoise. I would not call this Kelly. But I remember this fabric when we had it, and it is more of a Kelly kind of a color. It's really beautiful.
It is very lovely. And this one, I would say this one more than any of the other ones would give you that sheen when you're looking at it. You catch it in just an angle and it looks a little shimmery, but with no metallic, no funny business. It's just the weave of the fabric. And then if we are going straight down the line, and now these are given in the order that Windham gives them to you. So if you're looking at any of the images, they're all pretty much going to be in this order from top to bottom. Here we've got a blue and a white.
Yeah, that one's more straightforward because that's just blue and white, right? So it's like, this is what it really looks like. It's kind of giving me a denim kind of a vibe. Is that what it really looks like in real life?
I would say yes. If you made some jeans out of this, people would, you know, I mean, you wouldn't make jeans out of this, but if you made
No.
some pants from afar, they would definitely look denim-y. You can make some.
So comfortable if you made pajama pants out of
Absolutely.
this. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I'm thinking some nice harem pants or something.
Yeah.
So even if you don't want to join the contest, you just want to make some pants.
Yep.
I would highly suggest that. Now, I will point out that sometimes when I get it in just the right way, you can see a little, like it might look a little wavy on the camera. Are you picking that up at all, Yvette, or is that just
And I think that's just because the camera's trying to focus, right?
the focus? Yeah. But on some of the images that we get from Windham, it'll have that same effect. And I believe that that has to do with the weave of the fabric and some of that shimmeriness that you see in person. So this one is the blue and the white. And then I think we're on to brown copper.
There's 6, right? In all?
There are 6 in total.
6.
Yep. Yep. So this is going to be that last one. And I'm pulling a little bit of those threads so that we can see kind of a good look at the different colors that go into this one. So you can see there's that copper with the thread sticking out, and then what's left behind is a super dark brown. So it's just kind of fascinating how when you put these together,
It looks completely different. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is this one like sort of like a chocolate brown?
It is, I would call it more of like a teddy bear brown.
Oh, teddy
If
bear.
you draw a
That's
distinction
what
between that.
Yeah.
As someone who is, I would say, a chocolate aficionado, this is probably more, not any chocolate I would want to eat, but definitely like a teddy bear brown.
Cool. Yeah, and I think that this would be a great background too, depending on what kind of design you're going for. Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to have a background, I guess, depending on what you're doing. But
You could have equal amounts here. But this one, when I'm looking at it in the camera, I would say this looks very accurate to how it does. Now,
Cool.
I guess cameras do well with browns.
who knows? It's like, it depends on the lighting. It depends on your monitor. Solar flares. Who knows? It's like,
So for bringing it all together, we talked about how they might be different in real life than they are in the image
Yeah.
here. But this is the entire collection. I kind of like this picture a little bit better. I feel like when you're looking on the whole, it's a little more close to what the fabric actually looks like. But the Artisan cotton, I can't recommend this highly enough. If you haven't worked with it before,
yeah,
definitely give it a shot.
Yeah, on my monitor, on this picture, the taupe one looks taupe. It doesn't look gray. And the blue-green looks more like Kelly. It doesn't look like turquoise, but the pink on this one looks more pink than corally. So it's interesting that like some of them look more close and then others maybe not as close. So you can never win basically.
Never. No. But that's why you watch these shows to get the straight scoop on kind of some of the differences that you may see or how close it is.
We have a question, which is we didn't mention which colors are the warp and the weft on the brown one, and we did for all the other ones. So it says it's black and copper.
Yep. So we've got the black here, and then you can see the copper in the selvage.
Oh yeah,
so
you can have to
together make brown.
Try to make you bigger.
Oh.
Yeah, you can totally see that the top looks black and the side looks copper. Yeah. That's crazy that those colors make brown. It's like amazing.
I know. Maybe this is a great way to teach color theory.
Oh man, and like, yeah, because it's not really mixing them in the way that paint mixes it, right? Because the two colors don't meld together, but because they're woven with each other, you get this illusion of another color, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is very cool.
I'm gonna put
and you know I
QR code.
Even play. Oh, perfect.
Oh, sorry.
So if you want to pick up the bundle, get the QR code. There. I think we're golden. So we've got bundles, we've got fat quarter, half yard, and full yard bundles. We also have yardage. I'll spend just a little bit of time and talk about the yardage. We're getting another shipment of all of that. So it'll show up as a pre-order if you want yardage of this. The bundles are already cut and ready to ship. So if you pick one of those and yardage, we just hold your order for the week or so for the yardage to come in. But if you're getting just a bundle, you can get that right away. And we also want to point out that the submissions for the contest are actually due in, I'll get the exact date here.
It's September 1st. Yep. Through October 31st. That's the window to submit.
Yep. So yeah, 2 months to submit. The soonest is September 1st all the way up through October 31st. So you got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Even if you wanted to make a 90 by 90 quilt.
Yeah, I would recommend maybe making a smaller quilt because I don't think bigger is more likely to win. It's more about the like design and the color combination and the creativity for a contest like this, right?
Yeah.
So when Allison just mentioned that there's bundles and there's also yardage, what often we had people do in the past is they might get a fat quarter bundle and then a yard or two of whatever color they thought they were going to use more often, or maybe they would get a half yard bundle and then 2 additional yards or something along those lines, because most of the quilts we make, we don't use exactly the same amount of fabric for every single fabric that's going to go in it, right? So you can customize based on whatever you think you might want to make. And you guys may remember that in the past, we had a really hard time keeping this stuff in stock. We would launch the bundle and then we would sell out, and then we'd be waiting for it to come back in. So that is one of the conversations Allison and I had before we went live. We were talking about, do you have enough inventory? Does Windham have enough inventory? She has more on order because of this exact reason, right? So the bundles are ready to ship now. The yardage will be ready in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And I say everything we've got, I would call it plenty of. The exception would be the yellow copper. That one is a little bit lighter, but it sounds like there's some more coming. But as you're planning your quilt, just be mindful of that potential limitation of the yellow copper.
But that's temporary, right? Like more is coming.
Temporary.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. So lots of fun things. And I would say don't be afraid of, I would say, the coolest piece of this fabric, and that's you get 2 colors with every single one here. So you can get real cute. This is modern, guys. So really, I guess there are very few rules.
I've been to almost all the Quiltcons, and I always look at all the submissions online, and I don't think I've ever seen anyone unravel. That would be a pretty cool, like, imagine if you did like chenilling with this fabric, right?
Just saying.
I'm having some ideas over here. Everyone knows I'm not actually going to do this, but yeah, we were gonna enter last year. I had this idea of still have this idea that I haven't worked out yet. My idea is like taking English paper piecing, but removing some pieces so that there's like a hole in the top, and then having another layer of English paper pieced stuff behind it, like showing through that space. So like maybe you could have like, I don't know, 3 layers of English paper pieced stuff that has pieces missing and like make a secondary design kind of thing. I actually drew it last year and I showed it to Andrea and she's like, this is dumb. We shouldn't make this. And I was like, yeah, okay. I still have this idea, but it didn't work. So we didn't do it, but maybe one day, who knows?
My goodness. Well, you know, isn't that like a good friend? A good friend is one who can tell you your idea is dumb and maybe don't waste your time.
Yeah. Andrea and I are basically married at this point, right? So like there's no filter anymore. It's just like she says what she means and I say what I mean.
Fair enough. And I'll go ahead and take this opportunity, since we've got the coral right next to it, as you can see what it looks like in person. I would say maybe just a tiny bit peachier than you're seeing on the camera, but it is quite a bit darker than you see in the image, and that is accurate. I think it just maybe photographs really light.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because when you held it up the last time, it looked lighter, and this time it looks darker. So go figure. It's like computers, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So that is the Quiltcon challenge, and I hope that your creative juices are flowing and that you're getting lots of good ideas for what to do with this and enter it into Quiltcon.
Yeah, I think it would be so cool if people would send us pictures. Like if anyone buys fabric from us and then enters the show, like even if you can get in, not that I'm saying you're not going to get in, but we know like Quiltcon in particular is very challenging to get into, right? They take like 1 in every 100 submissions or something like that. So you have to assume that your quilt isn't going to get in when you submit to Quiltcon, unfortunately. But send us a picture. We want to see what you came up with, and like we could post it on social media. We can cheer you on, even if you don't end up being in the show. But
well, goodness, we might even have our own little mini Quiltcon of the.
That's such a good idea. Like the Gotham Quilts version of this challenge. That would be a great idea.
Absolutely. And you better believe there's going to be a prize.
Good. Sorry, I'm just replying to a comment.
Oh, sure.
Was there anything else that we wanted to talk about in today's call? And this was the main subject that we had talked about. And I mean, these are so pretty. I think I'm going to order some for myself to play with too. It's so funny now that I don't have a store full of fabric that I can just go to. Like I've been so used to that. And just like, oh, I can just go to the store and grab some. And oh, I forgot. There's no store anymore. Like I'm going to actually order some. Yeah.
Nice. Like the rest of the normal people, I suppose.
Yeah. And when we announced that we were closing, I referred to us as civilians. Like you might see us at a quilt show as civilians, like once we're not shop owners anymore.
Well, I don't think you'll ever be normal civilians, you and Andrea. I think your reputation will precede you.
And like normal was like yeah, we're definitely not normal. Like that ship sailed.
Yes. Oh goodness. Well, I'm not seeing. Oh, somebody has an idea.
Oh, okay. Good, nice.
Well, we can't wait to see what you come up with. And yeah, I've got some ideas too. So we might have to have our own little. We'll call it Gotham Con.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about the fact that this fabric is a little softer than your traditional quilting cotton. So it could be cool to do something like folded with like tucks like that. That could be an interesting option. Now I'm getting all these ideas. I'm not going to actually make anything. Like,
yeah. This isn't what you're going to do with all your free time.
Do you know I haven't actually sewn anything in like 6 months? It's like, yeah. I keep like saying, okay, today I'm going to sew, and then I always find something else to do instead. So.
Well, I think maybe it kind of like retirement. You're due a little bit of a break from
I think I
sewing.
might be a little burnt out. Yeah, I'm definitely going to sew at the retreat weekends. So our next retreat is in September for anyone who doesn't know. And I always say to myself, like, the retreat is like a dedicated time. I have to sew at least a little bit during the retreat. Probably not the whole time, but at least a little bit.
At least a little bit. And Heike, thank you for introducing yourself. I haven't quite matched the
The
usernames,
handles.
the actual names. Yeah.
Yeah.
So hey Kim.
I bet you Kim is going to come up with something. So Kim is in the comments telling us that she has an idea to submit to Quiltcon. And because I've seen Kim she's a member of Stitch Lab, which we should probably do a live on Stitch Lab at some point, right? And remind people what Stitch
Yes.
Lab is and that it's open again.
I don't want to be the spoiler, but spoiler alert next week. I think
Okay.
is the week.
Next week we could talk about Stitch Lab. But I've known Kim for like a year or more in Stitch Lab, so I've seen a lot of her work, and she tends to do a lot of like layers in her work. And I think this fabric would be beautiful for that. Like you could do some cool, something on top of something kind of. I think that would work really nicely.
That would be fabulous. Well, I mean, you got a number of months to think of an idea, to execute it, and really, the one thing I will point out that I think is so very cool is there is no minimum size.
Right.
It can be as small as you want it to be. And a
Yeah.
lot of those small quilts pack a lot of punch. In Minnesota here, we have Cherrywood Studios, if you're familiar. They
Right.
do hand-dyed fabrics, gorgeous. And they put on some competitions. And the most recent one that I remember seeing was at H&H, and that was the poppies. And those quilts were awe-inspiring.
And those they always do like a pretty small size, right? Like a
Yes, I want to say it's 20 by 20.
Yeah.
Yep. And so you can pack a lot of punch in a small quilt for sure.
Kathy put a comment. Don't finish to me. You bet. Don't finish your quilt or I'll be disappointed.
Yes, I think you'd have a lot of disappointed people if you finish something.
If I actually finished a quilt. There was a sample I made, like I randomly picked like a bundle and I started making blocks. And then I finished that quilt, and Andrea was like, she was saying to everyone who walked in the store, like, you've had to actually finish the quilt. Look. I pieced the whole thing, I quilted the whole thing, I put the binding on, like, what?
Wow.
That never happens. Wait, I might not
Oh,
have.
you're talking finished.
I don't think I did the binding. I think Andrea did the binding. To be fair.
Did you frame the quilt? Is it?
No, it's in my cabinet with my quilt collection. Yeah. I actually use my quilts. There's a lot of people who like make quilts and then put them in the closet and never use them. My apartment's full of quilts. Like the couch will have like 3 quilts on it at any given time. The bed has a quilt on it. There's quilts on the wall. Yeah, I really do use them.
Now I'm dying to know, especially the people watching, so put it in the comments here, is if I'm seeing a huge surge of people taking quilts and cutting them up to make them into a jacket generally.
Oh, yeah.
Is that yay or nay to cut up a quilt?
I mean, do what you want. It's better to cut up a quilt and then keep it in a closet. No one ever sees it, right? I personally don't really like the way most of those quilts jackets come out looking like I don't want to wear any of them. But if you're into it, you should do it.
They're definitely look. I think I've seen some pretty cute ones. It still might not be everybody's style, but I've seen some cute ones. But I too have mixed emotions in that. First, if you're wearing something, you're putting it out there in the world, you're making it cool. I think there's a couple, like there's a rapper a while ago who wore quilt jackets at the Met Gala, maybe like 3 years ago. We're making quilting cool again. But then also, the ones that get me are maybe like an entire quilt that's Hexie's English paper pieced, and you just count up the hours that somebody spent making this, and then here you're chopping it up to make it into a jacket that could be cute, it could be super ugly.
Yeah. I heard a criticism that there was like some specific designer who was going on eBay and buying actual vintage quilts to then cut up and make into clothes. and people were criticizing, I don't know if it was a him or a her, but they were criticizing that fashion brand for like ruining vintage quilts by doing this.
Oh,
But like you could see the inverse of that argument is this person is rescuing those vintage quilts that are sitting on eBay trying to be sold, and like nobody was buying them, right? Like there aren't that many people who collect vintage quilts, and like
yeah,
at least this is getting used and seen and promoting quilting. And yeah, who knows, somebody might
exactly.
see that and start quilting because they saw it.
Kathy just mentioned she got a quilt at a flea market. If a quilt is sitting at a flea market, I think it's fair game because, you know, what you, I don't want to guess
Yeah.
how much you paid, but probably, you know, I would call it under 20 bucks. If you're
$15,
buying
yeah.
a quilt for under 20 bucks,
Yeah.
you know, it was not necessarily wanted, or it doesn't have the
Right.
status
And that
that you
a lot of these older quilts aren't in perfect condition, right? So like you couldn't use them as a quilt without cutting them down and repairing them, right? So if you use the part that is still in good condition and give it new life, like that's definitely worth something.
and poor Eileen, not practical in Hawaii. But I'm not sure we feel bad for you, Eileen, being in Hawaii and not being able to use quilted jackets.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a trade off. I think you might have the better end of that deal.
Oh, they made the jacket back in 1994. Kathy's talking about a jacket her mom made in 94.
Nice.
All of a sudden I had the thought, like, could you make a jacket to submit to this challenge? Like, what if it was like a little, right?
Well, I mean, it doesn't say it has to be square or rectangle.
Like, it's kind of meta where if you made like a flat quilted coat, but it's really a quilt that hangs up on, like,
Are you thinking maybe a quilt that's coat shaped?
right, exactly. So like a doll, like a, you know, when we had those paper dolls, like
Yes.
like a paper doll coat quilt.
I wonder.
Is that just insane?
It might be the most clever thing. It would definitely set you apart from all these like square and rectangle quilts.
Sometimes I like stuff that just like it makes you smile, even if you know you don't want to hang that in your house and you don't want to make it yourself. But if it got you to smile, I'm like, I did my job, you know.
Right. Isn't that what art is all about? It just has to make you feel something.
Something, right?
Yep.
All right, I think we babbled enough.
I think so. Maybe we could end with just a little bit of housekeeping. I'm
Sure.
very excited to say that we are starting to turn things on at Gotham. This fabric is one of the examples. We are very excited to kind of open the floodgates and have all of the inventory back, but appreciate you hanging on there with us as we get things turned on. We have added three new people that we can officially announce for the thread talks.
Oh, right.
So
that's coming
definitely
up.
keep an eye out for that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is the perfect first fabric to put back up, right? Like we haven't had fabric in however long. The first thing that comes back up is a Quiltcon challenge bundle that's like the most perfect option that could have been the first one.
I think we're planting the flag of who we are and what we find important and meaningful, and that it does say a lot.
Supported the Modern Quilt Guild from the beginning. Like we sponsored shows, I think 4 years running. And yeah, like you could argue that the Modern Quilt Guild is like what got me quilting originally, and like this fits. This is very Gotham.
Nice, awesome. Well, as always, the lines are always open. Feel free to reach out by email. Love to hear what you're looking forward to, and that's really all I've got. I can't wait to talk a little bit next week about Stitch Lab.
Yeah. So thanks for coming, everybody. We will be back next week at the same time, same place, Tuesday nights at 6:30 Eastern time. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye, Allison.
Bye.